Hello there, fellow grognards. It's Al. Quick video for you. It's all kicked off. Again, somebody mentioned female space marines.
No! Girls!
And the reason it's all kicked off is because GW showed off some new Space Marine heads. This is what we've got. It is a new set of like 50 heads. As you can see, some of them are armoured. You've even got a couple of Mark 7s in there, which is nice. Appreciate the effort there, GW. A couple of Beakies, Mark 6 Corvus. And then you've got a couple of Terminators, and then for some reason the stupid people who take the Terminator helmets off. And then you've got like various degrees of armoured heads. You know, it's nothing particularly out of the usual here, if I'm being completely honest with you. Loads of heads, but what's caught the attention is a few of these in particular. And I can see where they're coming from. So let's make them a bit bigger. Here we go. So there's been a few people saying that some of these are female Space Marine heads. And I can kind of see it. And I'm going to just need you to bear with me a little bit here. So there's just a few here and there, like this one in the bottom left. It's definitely got a feminine slant to it. I would say that the second one on the left on the top row, definitely a little bit of the softening of the features. Could be partly the way that, heavy metal's painted it. I'm not saying it isn't. The black dude, two from the end, just reminds me of bloody Keith David. Keith David, the Space Marine? There you go. And again, people are saying this one on the right here at the end is a little bit feminized, and definitely this one here. I mean, that, second from the right here, that is definitely pretty feminine looking. So I can see their points. Just come down to these ones here. These are obviously, I think it's safe to say that they're not. I mean, the thing is, people are saying that these are just generally Asian heads, and like, look, they're Asian heads, a bit more feminine features, softer features, not as hard and craggy as sort of Caucasian and black people. You've generally got a more pretty male when it comes to the Asians and stuff like that. And part of me is just like, well, yeah, I guess, but then the other part of me is like, no, because these are Asian heads, and none of these look like women. None of them. Not one of those, and some of those are Asian. Not just and the skin tones that have been used, but Asian as in the depiction, the structure of the face, yet still very masculine looking. You see what I mean? Like, some of them are notably kind of different ethnicities in the way that they have been sculpted, for sure. You look at the sort of the widened nasal area here. Something that is very archetypical of the Afro-Caribbean look. I think that, I think people might have a point here with a few of these. That does just look like a woman to me. And this one here, particularly, second from the right, that black one there, definitely got a feminine thing going on here. So I guess the thing that we've got to answer here is, did GW just introduce female Space Marines through the back door? Now, if I'm being honest, I don't think so. I think that if GW were to do this, there'd be more fanfare about it. There would be more pomp and circumstance. It wouldn't just be like this. And people are saying, look, this is just basically, so next edition they can just say, oh, look, they've always been there. They've always been there. The models have always been there. And if that is the case, then at the end of the day, that is the case. GW are going to do what they want to do with the IP. It'll be up to people whether they're on board or not. For me personally, I think it would be a jumping off point for 40k. Just too much of a detraction. I mean, the Primaris had me half out. I still collect the models, but I'm not that invested in the universe anymore. I think they've ballsed up the lore completely by bringing Primarchs and Primaris into it. It just doesn't feel the same. It doesn't feel punk. It doesn't feel metal. And I'll have a video about that coming soon. So if they do decide to do that in 11th edition and go, yep, female Space Marines, here you go. Hopefully this satisfies the 10% of the people who are asking for them and we don't lose too many of the people that didn't want them. Then yeah, perhaps. My only stipulation would be just do not put them in Heresy. If you put them in Heresy, then that's it. That's game over. The Custodes were bad enough. All you had to do with the Custodes was just magic some bullshit up with Call and just say, yep, there was this horrible event, loads of Custodes got wiped out, we had to recruit from females. Boom, there you go, done. And I reckon that most of the people that were upset about the Custodes would not have given a shit. They would have been like, yeah, it's fine. That's absolutely fine. I think a lot of the people that were annoyed about the Custodes thing were generally just with the way that it had been done, which was so ham-fisted that, it was just ridiculous. What I think might be happening here, should you want my grognard opinion, is that I think GW have done this to appease the people that do want female Space Marines. I think that they've not announced it, and I don't necessarily know that they're going to soon. I do see female Space Marines as an inevitability in the next 5 years or so, unless there's a drastic shift. I just do. It's the way 40k in particular is going. They want it to be this mass marketable brand. They don't want it to be grimdark. GW is ashamed of their past. That whole Star Wars thing.
Let the past die. Kill it if you have to.
I definitely feel like that from GW. What I think this is a kind of an offering towards the ephemerine requesters, as it were. Sort of like here you go, here's some heads that you can use if you want ephemerines. Here's your options. You can do it now. We're not putting them in the lore. They're still, they're just Asian. It's fine. They're just Asian. But, if you wanted to say these were feminine, well, we're certainly not going to stop you. That is the kind of angle I get here. A kind of what GW frequently try to do, which is just trying to appease all sides and just, not committing one way or the other and just doing that. That's what I see here. They even photoshopped one of these feminine heads or feminine looking heads onto one of the old Stern Guard. In a kind of almost like a rewriting history type thing. I'll grab that photo if I can. I think it was on Spiky Bits. So, yeah, at the end of the day, GW can do what they're going to do. This is going to come out. They're going to be monitoring the sales, and I reckon if loads of people pick them up and then they're like, oh, look, these are my Femmarines, maybe that'll accelerate it. To this old grognard, it doesn't matter. I don't need this. I don't want this. I didn't even want the Heresy heads because they're like, 18 quid. It's like £1 a head. Anybody can make a generic shouty warrior head for Space Marines, and I can stick that in my models after 3D printing it for the cost of less than a penny. You get so many heads to a 3D plate, absolutely ridiculous. So yeah, these are out there if you want to buy them. I appreciate the fact they put Mark 7 in there. Nice to see that coming back. I do anticipate a melding of the Primaris and the original armour marks in 11th edition. That's one thing that I do predict. I think they've taken Primaris as far as they can. Broadly, I think it has been something that most people have said they don't like. And I think you see a little bit of a walk back there. You've already seen it with Terminators, you've already seen it with Scouts. So I don't think the Primaris are going anywhere necessarily. I don't think they're going to get rid of them. I just think there's going to be a kind of a blurring of the lines. Anyway, that's my thoughts. I personally just think this is kind of an olive branch, like a token gesture towards those that do want feminine, female Space Marines. And I can definitely see what people are saying. They do look markedly more female. Christ, some of these are more feminine than the bloody Sisters of Battle, let's be honest. I'll be back with another video soon. Until then, stay grognard. Bye.